Good afternoon. Welcome to Real Talk with Mary Grace. Waiting for the stream to catch up. Looks like we are not having too much lag today. Come on in, everybody. Welcome on Facebook, Clout Hub, YouTube. We are live streaming today, so please, as you come in, say hello, drop a message in the chat, hit the thumbs up, follow the page, like, hello. So if you're on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel and hit the bell so that you can get the notifications. If you are on YouTube, also hit the thumbs up. And please follow the Facebook page and turn on notifications. And then when you're on Clout Hub, it's channel 111. And so if you're having problems on any of those other platforms, please go to Clout Hub channel 111 and then you hit subscribe and put in your email address. You won't get spammed, but you will get notifications when I go live on Clout Hub. And the replays are available on all of those platforms as well as on my website. So it's good to see everybody. And I am glad to be back sitting here talking to you. It's been a busy few days, as you may know. And if you did not catch any of my live streams, I was reporting from Washington, D.C. And it was kind of interesting, a little bit uneventful, if you want to know the truth, for the most part. But so you can go and take a look at that. I think that a lot of the National Guard are wondering why they were called there, because there were more National Guard in Washington than there were, I think, actual people who voted for the person who they just installed in the White House. So glad you guys watched that. As you're coming in, remember to please follow. And if you're coming back for the replay, please make sure you leave comments and interact in the chat because it helps with the algorithm. It helps to get more views on on all the channels. So please do that. And if you're on Facebook, I also wanted to ask you please to share this broadcast into groups, because when you share into groups, it gets it to more people and it breaks the algorithm, and then we don't have to spend money to get our stuff seen on Facebook. So if you're new here, I'm Mary Grace. This is Mary Grace Media. You can also go to my website, marygracemedia.com. And I wanted to just start the broadcast with a couple of disclaimers, one of which is that everything that you see in my broadcast, for the most part, unless I'm telling you a source of something, it is my opinion. And so I just wanted to make that clear that, my opinions are my own and I have a First Amendment right to express those opinions. And if it is a different source and I'm not giving you my opinion on something, I will make that clear. So I just wanted to be clear on that. And I also wanted to let you know that any affiliate relationships that I have or any sponsorships, I am very upfront and very clear about the fact that I do get commissions and that people do contribute monetarily to my site. So I just wanted to get that out of the way. Yesterday it was cold. Yeah, somebody on Facebook said that it looked cold. Greg on YouTube says someone is saying they were taking down the fence around the Capitol. Have you seen that? I haven't seen that because we left town yesterday and I haven't been back. I don't know when I'll be back, but it was empty. I mean, it was, it was a ghost town. There were flags on the grass, and because there weren't any people who came. The only people that showed up, you can see on my live stream, were the few residents who lived in the town. And then there were also journalists, many of whom were foreign journalists, which I thought was kind of interesting, and then celebrities. And so, it was basically a navel gazing session for the elites inside the walls, and everybody else was just sort of, maybe walking their dog or just trying to get some fresh air and maybe see the snow. So that's what we saw. And you can form your own opinion, but based on everything that I've seen, there's nothing to me that would indicate uh, 80 million people who voted for someone that is supposedly the most popular president ever to be elected in the United States. You make that decision, you make the judgment call, but we know the facts, we know the truth, and the American people aren't stupid. So I just encourage you to come up with your own conclusions. Now, I wanted to talk a little bit today about things that have happened online in some of the groups that I'm on. I'm seeing a lot of different reactions about what happened. I'm seeing a lot of mixed feelings from people about the fact that somebody was sworn in yesterday. Things happened in a time frame that people weren't necessarily expecting. A lot of people were hoping that things would be turned around more quickly because of the obvious evidence that was produced on many fronts. A lot of people were hoping for that. And it's hard to know specifically why that didn't happen. I have my ideas about why it didn't happen. I think a lot of people do. And one of the things that I wanted to tell you is that I don't believe that what we saw yesterday is the end of that story. I don't believe it's the last chapter. And so that is something that I really want to encourage you in. And the title of my broadcast today is What the People Want. And I wanted to talk to you about this because I believe that what we are seeing in America right now is the culmination of years and years and years of people getting what they want. What do I mean by that? Well, here's what I mean. What I mean is that as a whole, I believe that Americans and more specifically American Christians have said they want one thing, but their actions have indicated that they want something else. What do I mean by that? Well, I believe that a lot of Americans have actually paid lip service to Christianity, that they've been lukewarm Christians, that they have tolerated things that are an abomination to God. They have allowed complacency to creep into every part of our lives, and they have abdicated their responsibility civically, in the education realm, in the business realm, and even in the church. And so let's go back to what I said. In our heart of hearts, do we want everything to get better? I believe we do. But our actions have shown otherwise. And so I want to encourage you to understand what I'm saying here. And if you are confused about it, I want you to look and see the reactions that people had in the last 24 hours. There are people who have said that they wanted a win, that they wanted President Trump to win, that they want the nation to be better, that they want all of the evil to be eradicated, that they wanted it to be exposed, those kinds of things. Well, the truth is, when the evil has been exposed, and we have seen a great deal of exposure in the last uh, 2.5 months since the election, uh, we have seen a tremendous amount of evil that we would not have seen had the election been declared in the direction that that the evidence pointed to on election night. We wouldn't have seen any of that. We wouldn't have seen how deep the swamp is on the Republican side. We wouldn't have seen how deep the swamp is at the local election side. We wouldn't have seen any of that. We wouldn't have seen the corruption in the courts. However, what I'm seeing from believers and from diehard Trump supporters is that it wasn't very hard to take some of those people out of the fight. The people who said that they wanted this to change. Well, one thing to understand about wanting change is that in order to change something and in order to get it back, in order to get it to improve it, You actually have to get to the root of the problem. And here's an analogy that I think will help you. If you uh, so yeah, let me explain it this way. So I had some friends who went to paint their house one time, and they had a bay window. So you know what that is. It's a window that comes out, from the house, right? And and the bay window, it was, it's attached, you know what I'm saying? Like it's like a window seat. Well, they went to paint the house and they were getting it like pressure washed, and the painters were scraping some stuff. Hold on a second. I just need to get these notifications off of here. Sorry about that. Turn this off. Okay. So they were, anyway, the painters were cleaning. And in the process of doing that, the bay window started to fall apart. And it was a big problem because the bottom, like they found out that the wood was rotten and that the whole bottom of the bay window was falling out. And the next thing you know, they had this hole, like a hole in the side of the house. And it was a big problem because what had happened is that the water had gotten between the house and the bay window, between like the flashing, because it wasn't sealed correctly. And and they didn't know it until they went to paint it. And so the window literally fell off. And it was kind of a disaster. But the thing is, it was a good disaster because it led to a problem. It led them to see a problem that was a deeper problem that they didn't know existed until they got somebody there to paint the house. And then what they realized is that they actually had water going down into the foundation, and they never knew it. And so what started out to be a small project where they thought they were just going to clean everything up cosmetically and get the house painted became a bigger problem that seemed uh, really bad, but it actually exposed something that was way deeper that went into the foundation. And I believe that that is what we are experiencing right now. And so, as believers, as worshipers of God, we are in a situation where we have actually we took on the task of, quote, draining the swamp. We jumped into that task. We jumped on the train and said, "Yay, this is what we want to do." And I think in our minds we saw it as sort of an exterior cosmetic house painting project. And what we saw over the past 4 years was the equivalent of the window crumbling. It's like, you ever had that happen? As you scrape a little bit, like more chunks of wood fall off, and you realize there's a big problem here. And then you get to the point where the whole window falls off. Well, I think that would describe what we've experienced for the past 4 years. And then you get to the part where you see that there's a huge gaping hole, and there's a huge gaping hole where the water has started to leak into the foundation, and that it's creeping into the entire foundation of the house, and that before you know it, that house is going to be lopsided, and the whole foundation has to be taken out, and the house has to be jacked up, and then the foundation has to be redone. We're at that stage. Okay, we're at the stage where the foundation is rotten to the core because the water, in this case, the swampy water, has gotten in so deep. And let me ask you something. If President Trump had been declared the winner on November 3rd, according to the numbers that were on the board when they stopped counting, would we have seen the deeper levels of rot in the foundation? I don't think we would have. I think that a lot of people would have gone along happily and never ever seen what had to be revealed in as a result of like the whole window falling off. So that's where we are. And that's a picture that I wanted to present to you, because the question then becomes, where are we and where do we go and what do the people want? Do the people want a nation restored to its original foundation as it was developed and laid out by the founding fathers? Or do we want to put some paint on it and fix a few boards and slap it back together and then go back to business as usual, where people no longer have to be engaged? Because that's what people have wanted, and that's what people's actions have indicated for a very long time. And how do I know that? Well, because I know that people have gone to the voting booth, not in great numbers, in the last 20 years. People have gone to vote, and they have done their duty for the past, for the election, and then they just sort of turn their brains off, and they let the politicians run everything. And so, because of that, they let them run it into the ground. The same thing with the universities and the schools. They turned it all over to the experts, and the experts took advantage and destroyed everything. That's kind of like turning your whole house over to termites. That's what they did. So where does that leave us? I want to give you something that was sent to me earlier, because I think this is very telling. This is a friend of mine. She actually suffered through the broadcast yesterday on NBC, and one of the things that she noticed was that the commentators were actually happy that we were going back to boring. And I'm going to read this to you, but think about this. The people have been asleep, and the people have wanted to, the people have wanted to, the people have wanted to just check out and have everybody else handle everything. That's how we got into this mess. People wanted to go to church and just sit in the pews and let somebody feed you the information. And then you go to lunch, and then you get home, and then you watch sports and you do whatever. And then it went from don't even go to church, don't even congregate with other believers, have sports all weekend, take your kids to soccer on Sundays, schedule games when you used to go to church, things like that. And I'm not saying that you have to go to church on Sunday. You might go to church on Wednesday, whatever. But you get the point. People have wanted to just come home and turn on Netflix and completely check out. That's what a lot of people did during the pandemic. So think about this. If God is calling a people to pray and to repent and to turn and seek his face, and people are asking for change, but then they switch their brains off again, and they switch their spirits off again, and they're not hearing him and they're not seeking him. What makes him want to complete the change that people are asking for? Because people are saying one thing, but they're doing another. Are you tracking with me? And the the masses of the people are doing that. I'm not talking now about the really small percentage who get it and who have been wanting to try to affect change for a long time. That's not who I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is the people who the masses, the majority, who are looking at what's happened right now, and they're thinking, okay, well, that's it. I can't do anything about it. And so what I'm saying to you is that if you have that attitude, you are like the person who looks at who sees the window falling off your house, and the contractor comes and shows you the rot and shows you that the foundation is rotten to the core. And they're saying to you, we have to lift the whole thing up, and we have to put the new foundation down the way it was meant to be. And you say, I just can't deal with it. Just just give me food or TV or something to pacify myself, because I just can't deal. I don't want to think about it. That's where we are in our nation right now, because this is not over, and there is more to come. And and I've said this all along. I've said, whether the president comes back tomorrow, whether the president comes back tomorrow and resumes his presidency, or whether he had won outright, whether we had to fight to get to this point or not. The point that I'm saying is that there's work to do no matter what. You can't go back to sleep, because going to sleep and self-medicating and binge watching TV and overspending and overindulging and allowing your kids to do whatever, um, that's what got us here. Refusing to be involved is what got us here. So that's what I want to explain to you. Now, I need to go back to a comment in the YouTube channel because I don't have any moderators here today, but I want you to be, there's a comment that needs to be deleted. And I'm asking you to delete it because people are watching my channel and they are trying to get my channel deplatformed. So if you have put anything in the chat, in the comments on any of my streams that's advocating violence or destruction, I'm asking you to delete it because that's going to affect my channel. You can do that on your own social media, but please delete it. I'm not going to call you out by name, but I want you to take down the comments that you've put. This affects my channel, and people are trying to get me deplatformed. They've already gotten other people deplatformed. So please remove any comments that have to do with property destruction or harming people. Please do that now. Otherwise, I'll have to delete it and put you in timeout or ban you from the channel because I can't have this. I worked too hard to get to where I am to have my channel deplatformed. So please take those comments off. Okay, so let me get back to what I want to say. So this is what my friend heard on NBC. This is what they said. They said one of the commentators just said that the Biden administration will bring back a level of boredom in a good way. That's the word he used, boredom. It will be a dull administration. It will be a dull administration that will bring about a sense of peace. So people literally want dull and boring, but what they're really saying is that people want to be pacified. They want to be lulled into a sense of complacency. And this is what else they said. The main anchor, one of the women said, so basically we can just let Washington do its job now, and we don't really have to pay attention. That's literally what they said. They are telegraphing what they want for the American people. They want everyone to go back to sleep. And then in another 4 years, another 2 years, another 3 years, people are going to go, oh my gosh, what happened? That's what got us here in the first place. But this is what the media is saying. I know. You can thank my friend Stephanie for actually listening to it for us. And so this is, and so they're not talking about what's good about Trump, okay? But they have nothing good to say about Biden. What they're saying is literally that they want the Washington D.C. swamp to go back to business as usual, and for the people to go back to sleep. Well, I'm here to tell you that's not going to happen, because if you looked at the images of the person that they swore in yesterday, you will see that there is a person who was standing behind him who had a badge of a foreign government on his lapel. And that same person was seen with that individual when that person allegedly broke his foot. And that person is from a foreign country. And so I'm going to leave it to you to go find that, because I'm not going to put it on the screen right now, but I want you to pay attention, because when that individual is the handler for the person who got sworn in, then we are far from boring, and it's time to wake up. It's time to wake up and understand. It's time to wake up and understand. Anne, can you send me a text and I'll tell you? Okay, maybe they deleted it. Let me see. on YouTube. I hope they did. They might have deleted it. Okay, hopefully they deleted it. Thank you, Anne. I didn't see you moderating. Okay, so thank you. Now, let's see. Okay. Well, if you did delete it, I appreciate it. Thank you. So, and the person that was with him was not Secret Service. It was from a foreign government, somebody who has no business being in our country, somebody that Secretary of State Pompeo was has been talking about a lot. So just be aware of that. Okay. Now, let me go back because when it comes to what's actually going on, thank you, Linda, for letting me know, and Laura. Okay, here's what I want you guys to know. I want you to know that it's not over, and I really want you to see this because we're in the time now where people have a choice. So they're given the choice of walking in faith and continuing in belief that this is not over, that the person that we hired to do the job is going to finish the job. Now we're starting to understand and realize that some of the job that maybe the biggest part that has to happen right now had to happen with him being out of office. And X22 talked about this yesterday. And I think this is really important to understand because one of the things that they tried really hard to do, especially in the last year, is they tried to set up President Trump as a dictator. They tried to get him to send out to shut down the whole country during the virus, and he wouldn't do it because he deferred to states' rights. They tried to goad him into becoming a dictator with the riots that they instigated all over the country. They were practically begging him to send in the military and turn live ammunition against American citizens. Think about that. And then they were literally they were crying and whinging when people got tear gassed for trying to climb the White House fence, and some of them got hit with rubber bullets. But they were desperate to goad the president into sending the military in. That was why they did all of that, because they wanted to paint him as a dictator. And he didn't fall for the trap. He didn't take the bait. Obviously, he's too smart because he sees through what they were doing. Now imagine if people were screaming for him to do certain things in the last few weeks, invoke the Insurrection Act, enact martial law, do all of these things. With the stroke of a pen, you can do it. Now, I want you to look back over the last couple of weeks, and I want you to look back over what has transpired. And I want you to think about what the narrative would be right now, worldwide, had he done that. Had he uh, had he done that in the last 2 weeks, or if he had actually succeeded in getting everything turned around, even in the courts. So think about this, because what would have happened? The narrative, one of the narratives was he's just a big baby and he's having a temper tantrum. And of course, he's going to say that he won. And then he's going to get his way because he's controlling everything. So you see, it was like he was damned if he did, he was damned if he didn't. He could have fought it and gotten the votes reversed, right? He could have taken a certain, a more forceful action and had the military seize machines or whatever. These are good ideas under normal circumstances, but nothing's normal about this. And so, they already said that he was trying to stage a coup. So imagine if he got this all turned around while he was still in office. Do you see what I mean? And so one of the things that I've learned and that I was starting to put together in the past week or so is that there are things that, first of all, there are things that are happening in what I would call the inner circle, the secret war council. If you go back to what I told you about George Washington and how uh, when he crossed the Delaware, that he had a war council, and that the opposing army, that the opposing forces, the commander of the opposing forces heard about it and was ready for George Washington's army to come, but the other commander didn't hear about the secret war council that George Washington had. And that is how Washington was able to sneak up on him and to win that battle, which was a decisive battle in the Revolutionary War. And what I want to present to you is that, and this is something that I've been saying for a long time, is that most of what we have seen the president do has been has come out of left field. The wins that he's had have come out of left field. So when he got Soleimani, when he took out al-Baghdadi, uh, when he did the Abraham Accords, nobody saw that coming. It was just boom, all of a sudden, oh, it's done. Peace in the Middle East, right? And Israelis shaking hands with Saudis and flying over Saudi airspace. Crazy stuff, all right? And so you think about this, and you think about what's going on now. Those were foreign policy acts, um, you know, peacekeeping acts, things like that, diplomacy, that kind of thing. And you think about that. So think about if um, if he did those things and he kept radio silence and there were no leaks, how much more would whatever's happening right now be have to be kept super, super, super secret? All right. That's what I'm saying to you. And so I want to put this out here again because I continue to see people sharing intel. I see people going to different, sharing different YouTube broadcasts and things like this, where people are telling you that they're hearing from their insider and that they're hearing from a certain letter of the alphabet, or they're hearing things from people who know what's going to happen, and they're telling you, now here's the plan. I want to ask you with all seriousness, if you just think logically, think critically, based on his track record and the way that he gets things done, does any of that make sense? Do any of those leaks, do any of those intel sources ring true to you, knowing what we know about him and the way that he has accomplished things? It's really important that you understand this, because people are latching on to all kinds of crazy theories. And it's, there are people who are more than happy to oblige, to give you what you want to hear. They're more than happy to tickle your ears and to let you go on believing that X, Y, or Z is going to happen in the next few hours. That's not even logical. It's not possible. Not with this president, not with this administration. And I'm talking about the legitimate president. Okay? So just be aware of that, and um be extremely discerning, and be very careful about what you share. I really want to encourage you. And like I said, the way that we found out about al-Baghdadi is after he was cornered in a cave and gone. Okay, so that's the way it works, and the news will come out when the news comes out. uh, you have to understand that one of the things that I believe Secretary of State Pompeo indicated was that uh, the president would be using the Voice of America to broadcast the real news. Do I know that for sure? No. But based on my observation, based on my opinion, based on what I have seen so far in my observations of this administration and the way that they do things, and listening to Secretary of State Pompeo for the past couple of years, I have extrapolated that that's what I think he was signaling when he did that speech from the Voice of America. So that's what I want to encourage you that when real news comes, it may come over the emergency broadcast system. I feel like it's more likely to come over the Voice of America. And what I think is that they're going to do it over at least one TV network, radio, social media. There are places where they will get the word out. If you have a regular radio, I recommend that you get batteries for it and make sure that it works. Just a dial radio so that you can at least get AM radio. That's what I think is going to happen. I can't give you a time frame. Anybody that gives you a time frame is probably just trying to get your attention. And so again, many of us thought uh, that we knew what was going to happen up until this point. And of course, hindsight gives us understanding. And so as we look at the way things have played out over the past uh, couple, several weeks and months, it to me it's starting to make sense. You look back and you go, oh, okay, I see why he did that, or I see how this has come together, and I see why he didn't do this, or that kind of thing. And you don't have to agree with me. You may really believe that it's done and that we have to just fix the voting machines, which we do. We have to fix that situation. But you may be thinking, okay, it's time to just dig in and try to win this thing again in 2022 or 2024. I really think that we're in a place where we're sort of at a Red Sea moment, and that if it doesn't get fixed, if what happened over in the 2020 election doesn't get fixed, if those problems don't get fixed, and if that foundation doesn't get rebuilt and replaced, that there's really no point in a 2022 or 2024. I don't care how many letters you get from the RNC. I don't care how much Ronna McDaniel tells you about how hard they're going to work and how we're fighting to win. That's just a lie. So that's my opinion. You don't have to believe me, but that's what I think is going to happen. And I've been thinking about this, and what I see people doing is that they're really, really focusing on the loss. And I was thinking about, we've heard this analogy a lot about having a Red Sea moment. And what I think is very interesting about the Red Sea is this. I think that, when the Egyptians were growing weary of the Israelites, they actually wanted them to leave. God made it so uncomfortable for the Egyptians that they literally just forced the Israelites out. They gave them gold and silver and said, go, because they were, not only were they outnumbering them, but that God was sending plagues. And so the Pharaoh sent them away, and the Israelites were on their way, and they were moving toward the promised land. And then the Pharaoh had a change of heart and he came after them, which is kind of dramatic, right? And I think that one of the things that I have seen is that in that moment when the Israelites thought that they were home free and they were going toward the promised land, all of a sudden the Egyptian army was nipping at their heels. And it really paralyzed the Israelites because they were winning and then they weren't. And they got into paralysis really. And and so they started focusing on the the thousands behind them, and they lost focus on the one who was leading them, which was God, Yahweh. And I think that's very interesting. I think it's a really important lesson for where we are right now. Because the question is, are you going to focus on the thousands that are nipping at your heels? Or are you going to focus on the one who has promised to lead this nation into restoration and to rebuild the foundation of this nation? Are you going to focus on the one who will open the Red Sea and part the waters and take you across? That's the question. What is it that you want? Do you want to focus on what might happen, on what's nipping at your heels, on the evil that is so obviously pursuing the righteous? Or do you focus on the one that we know has already parted the sea? That's the question. So just want to look at the comments. So that's where we are. Now, in case you're still struggling with your faith on this situation, I wanted to read you a word that was sent to me by a good friend of mine. And this is a friend who walks in a great deal of faith. And she's a young mother. Um, she is a mother by miracle because she was diagnosed a few years ago, several years ago, with ovarian cancer in her late 20s. And she was told that she would most likely not survive, and that if she did, she would never have children. And she told the doctor, I will survive, I will live and not die, and I will have children. And I believe that that's God's destiny over my life. And so she did some treatments. She didn't do as many as they prescribed, and she was completely healed. And now she has two children. She has a girl and a boy, and they're both miracle babies that she gave birth to. And so this is a woman who knows how to walk in faith, and this is what she wrote. And I think that we really need to take this with us and understand that God is not finished here. So this is what she said. She said, this week when I was talking with God, um, I felt like he told me that we were about to enter a season of the too lates becoming I told you so's. And he took me to the story of Lazarus. When Lazarus became sick, his friends went to Jesus and asked for his help. Jesus simply informed them that the sickness would not lead to death. But then what happened? Lazarus died, and Jesus looked like a liar. Can anybody relate? Lazarus died, and Jesus looked like a liar. For 4 days, for 4 days, Jesus looked like a liar, and everyone became angry and sad and depressed. As God was replaying the story to me, I wondered what it would have been like if they had trusted in Jesus' word. Maybe they would have prepared for a huge resurrection party rather than a funeral. Maybe they would have celebrated the miracle to come rather than become hopeless about what hasn't wasn't done yet. But they didn't do those things, and when Jesus showed up, they were completely defeated. But what is so cool is that even though Lazarus did indeed die, Jesus' word was more true than his death, and he canceled death completely, fulfilling his promise. I imagine that when Lazarus walked out of that grave, Jesus sighed as he thought to himself, I told you so. As I meditate on this, I hope that I can make a different choice than the people in this story did. I will purpose to celebrate the coming resurrection before I even see it done, even if it looks too late. And I will hope with expectation for the day that he says, I told you so. So I think we're a lot of us have been in that place where we're looking at what our eyes see. You know, we're at the Red Sea, we're looking at the thousands behind us, and they're goading and they're mocking and they're saying, it's over and we're coming for you. And the Lord is saying, I already said this is done. And the prophets uh, who are speaking truth over this election and victory have not wavered. And Kat Kerr is saying, celebrate, eat cake. I just want to encourage everyone to be in that position, to take that position, to take the position of celebration, and to know that God has not abandoned our nation. Is he asking us to walk in faith and to walk in belief? Absolutely. Is he challenging us to look ahead and to celebrate what he has said and to believe and act as though this is done? Yes. It's challenging in the middle of it, I will admit. And there are plenty of people that I talk to who have completely resigned to what we saw with our eyes yesterday. But there are many, many, many who still believe that this is not over. And I'm one of those people. So I'm inviting you to walk with me and to stand with me and to keep declaring what God has said would be. And I want to encourage you. I want to encourage you to listen to those voices of celebration and truth, and be very, very careful about what you allow into your eyes and into your mind and into your conversation right now. And if you find yourself having to leave a group or leave a, 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 a text thread or a conversation, just do that graciously. You don't have to blast the people and say, you don't have any faith and I don't want to talk to you. Just say, I just need to take a break and just go and spend time with God and seek Him, and really just get His word and His truth into you, because it's not easy. But if it was easy, then everybody would have made it to the promised land, and they wouldn't have, and they would have gone straight there. They actually made it more complicated by losing faith. You remember that, right? They went around the same mountain for 40 years. Let's not do that. Let's not take what God has promised and turned it into an interminable um, walk around the same mountain for 40 more years. Let's allow Him to do what He's going to do and pray into that, not from a place of defeat or desperation, but from a place of belief, where we say, God, this is what you said, and you purposed this nation to be a light on a hill, and you put in the foundation of faith and your word. And I'm believing you to rebuild that. And I am not going to stop. I'm not going to walk away and agree with the fact that the foundation is destroyed. I'm not going to go hide my head in the sand and be complacent and refuse to participate. I'm going to participate in faith, and I am going to be part of the solution of bringing our nation back to the foundation, to the way that our founding fathers envisioned it, and to the foundation that they put in place. We really are at a crossroads right now, and each person is being challenged to make that decision. Because if you don't make the decision now, you're either standing with God or you're partnering with defeat. It's really your choice, because the decision is in the balance. And I know it's easier for some of you than others. I get that. You got to make a choice. It's like I say, ride or die. You know, where are you in this? Where are you? Where are you going to go? Are you going to look at the thousand nipping at your heels, or are you going to put your eyes on the one who has already parted the sea, who has told you that this nation is His and that He is not letting us go, and that He will restore our land? It may not be easy, but it's really simple. We know what God has said. Do we believe God, or do we believe the bad report? And the Bible says, if any man lacks wisdom, let him ask, and I will freely give it to him. So if you're wondering, how do I discern? How do I figure out what's true? What rings true, what doesn't? One of the things that I encourage is just think about what makes sense. Think about the track record of the president and what he's done already. That's what I was saying earlier. That if somebody is telling you that they have an inside source that's giving you timelines and uh, specific details about actions that the president is going to take, there's a good chance that they are leading you astray. Because and then just think about what the president has done in his record, because he said all along, I would never tell my enemy what my plans are. That's just dumb. And right now, he's not out of the fight. The enemy is real. And so if he broadcasts what he's going to do, if he um, if he comes out from under the radar, right, then they're going to know too. So if he tells you, or if somebody that supposedly knows him or has access to him tells you, then that means the enemy knows too. So that's a good rule of thumb for how to discern and how to know what is happening in this situation. Okay, so I just wanted to encourage you in that. Let's see. Okay, now I wanted to let you know, sometimes when I do my broadcast, I walk and talk at the same time, like I did in Washington D.C. And I've been experimenting with doing that over the Restream app, and it's great because I can go on multiple platforms. It's not so great because on my phone, when I'm holding the selfie stick, it's really hard to see the comments. It's just not the greatest format. And so this weekend, I think we may have good weather. I'm letting you know this because I might actually do a walk and talk maybe tomorrow. And so I'm going to try to do that simultaneously on Facebook and YouTube and Cloud Hub. The downside is it's really hard to interact with your comments. And so if it becomes too challenging, I will most likely go just onto either the YouTube or the Facebook. So just turn on your notifications for both of those, and please just make sure that you're prepared. It's usually after lunch that I do that, usually between like 1 and 4 or 5. And so just be prepared because when I can, I do that, and I really like to do it, and people like that. But it's just it may or may not do go on one platform. Okay, so I'm just letting you know that. Starting next week, next week I'll be back in the studio, so 5 o'clock Eastern, right here on these channels. And what else? Okay, make sure you're following me on all of these channels. So you're on YouTube, Facebook, and Clout Hub, and it's Mary Grace Media. I do have accounts set up on Gab and on where else? Where else am I? Clout Hub, Mary Grace Media. On Cloud Hub, it's channel 111. So when you go to their website or their app, you click on channels and you go to the channel and you hit subscribe or watch now. So please do that. Please make sure that you're following me on all of those, because if one platform gets taken down for any reason, it's important that you know where you can find me. And I've had people email me since the Twitter and the Periscope got taken down because they didn't know where to go. So just make sure that, especially if you are not into, if you're not into Facebook, for example, go ahead and set up on Clout Hub and follow me. Don't friend me on Clout Hub, just follow me. And that's the easiest way to do it. There's no need to do a friend request. That's for people that, like my sister and things like that, that would friend me. The following option is really the best. Okay. What else? Go to my website, and you can also watch my videos on my website. You can also go to my website to sign up for my mailing list. And what you do there is when you get to my website, marygracemedia.com, uh, marygracemedia.com, um, you can wait for the what do you call it? The little pop up, and you can put your information in and get on my mailing list. I saw a comment on YouTube that I want to address, but I'll come back to that. What else? Okay, last thing, superfoods. This is the season. 'Tis the season to get your superfoods. A lot of you guys have been following Greg Harvey, and a lot of you guys have been following some of the information from my friend Delia, and they have really had great results with superfoods. A lot of people have, but what is it? The superfoods is an organic green superfoods experience that you can get, And the reason that I am so bullish on superfoods is that I have really wanted to have a good food source, especially with all of the crazy lockdowns and difficulty shopping and questionable things that are in our foods. And so I started talking to my audience about these superfoods last June, and everybody just kept wanting it more and more and more. So it's become really popular. And I have a voucher so that you can save $100 or more off of your superfoods. And so make sure you send me an email, info@marygracemedia.com, because you're going to get a voucher to save money off of a whole month's supply of the superfoods. And we have a really good setup to where you're going to get in a private Telegram room with other people who are using the superfoods. You're going to get into a private Facebook group if that's where you are on social media, and so you get support that way. You get um, lots of support in incorporating the superfoods into your life. So it's a really good thing if you have fatigue, if you have brain fog, if you're dealing with some autoimmune conditions and things like that. The food is highly nutritious. Um, just the disclaimer that I have to make all the time is that I'm not a doctor. I'm not making any medical claims. I feel a lot better when I'm eating superfoods than when I'm not, and a lot of people are. And so that's why we choose to use the superfoods. The other thing that's really good about the superfoods is that people like to use them for prepping. So if you're looking to get a really good food source to keep on hand that is non-perishable, this is a really good way to do that. And Delia is on YouTube, and she said this is way easier than Weight Watchers or keto, and I totally agree. And one of the best things I like about this is that you're just not hungry. Wouldn't you agree, Delia? You're just getting such good nutrition into your body. It's not a starvation thing. You're actually you're actually feeding your muscle. And there's a lot of things that people have done. I've had people tell me that they've tried everything, and this is the best thing they've ever tried, whether it was for weight loss or dealing with some nutritional and medical challenges that they've had. So that's just, I'm just putting that out there. You can get a voucher from me. It's info@marygracemedia.com. Kathy on Facebook, yeah, there, some of it is meal replacement. You are eating real food though too. So just send me a message at my email, info@marygracemedia.com. It's really quite good. And I'm a really picky eater, and I have an autoimmune condition, so it really helped me. Delia has lost over 60 pounds. She looks amazing and feels amazing, and she's walking like 10 miles a day now. And she ran a marathon, at least one, I think. And so she's working back up to that. So really, really cool. Yeah, it's really cool. Somebody's saying something about a handler. I want to go back up to this comment. It says the handler of the person who was sworn in is a Korean American. He was second in charge of Trump's security detail. I'd like to know more about that. Could you send me an email, because that's not what it looks like to me. But I'd like to know more information. So please send me an email if you could. info@marygracemedia.com. Thank you. If I'm incorrect about that. Okay, Delia has run 9 marathons. Okay. Wow. She's saying that on YouTube. Didn't know that. That's amazing, Delia. And so she's back in running shape. That's awesome. Okay. Any quick questions or comments before I go? I've got a couple of minutes before I have to go make dinner. Can you tell me again the program? Yeah, so Maggie, send me an email, info@marygracemedia.com, and I will send you everything you need to know, plus the voucher with a little explainer video. Okay. That's Maggie on, where'd it go? On YouTube. Yeah. So yeah, you can do that. Let me see, are there any more messages here? info@marygracemedia.com. And Delia is getting back into running. Yeah, this is great. It's awesome. And she just went through a move, and she's stuck with her superfoods, and it's really good. It's really good. And Greg Harvey, somebody just asked me where to follow him outside of uh, Periscope and Twitter. I think he might be on D Live. I'm not sure. He has a show. He has a morning show that he does, and he has a goal. He wants to lose, I think, 75 pounds, and so far, I think he's lost about 20, and he loves it. He was a little, skeptical at first. Somebody's asking for reports from DC. So Vicky, I left DC yesterday, and I haven't gotten a report on what's going on right now. Uh, but um, but um, but I think that I don't know. I'll just have to check in and see what I can find out. I wasn't planning to be up in DC anytime soon. I've been there quite a bit lately, and so I'm just trying to have a week where I'm home, and so we'll see. Uh, um, there's something in the way of my messages here. Shoot, Kathy on Facebook. That's a question. A question about the superfoods. Can you send me an email, Kathy, about that? Because I don't go into too much detail here on the broadcast, but um, yeah. So send me an email, info@marygracemedia.com, and I can help you answer that question. Okay. Um, is there a recommended exercise program to pair up with the superfoods? That's a good question, Charles. It really is up to you. There are people who are really just casual athletes who do yoga and walking, and then there are people who do bodybuilding with the superfoods. It really seems to support everything, uh, on all spectrums. I think. I mean, Delia has been walking, but now she's working up to running again, and she's increased her water intake, and she's really gradually worked up to that. It just depends. I think that you know and we do have, actually, Charles, there are some products in the superfoods that support more intense athletic activity, and you can ask me about that. But if you prefer walking, yeah, that'd be great. It's perfect. um Somebody just said walking and just bought a trekkie, a trike. Yeah, trying to get outside. Yeah, I like being outside. I like walking, and in the summertime, I like being on my paddleboard. I do paddleboard racing. So it really works for all ends of the spectrum. I think Jim was on here earlier on YouTube. I was going to say hi, Jim, and I was in the middle of talking. I think he does a lot of pretty intense workouts. So I think that would be interesting. Everybody's all over the spectrum. All right, the person that's going to send me the email about the Secret Service, thank you. I would really like to see that. Okay, I think that's it. Any more questions on Facebook? I'm not looking at the live stream on CloudHub, and it doesn't feed through here. So if you're on CloudHub and you have questions that I'm missing, I apologize. You can send me a message on my email, info@marygracemedia.com. Please just keep it short because I get a lot of emails. And then the other thing too is if you send me an email and it has a link in it, I need to let you know that I will not click on a link that doesn't have any explanation or context. Oh, hey, Marlene. I will not do that because I don't I'm really reluctant to do that because I don't know what's at the other end of the link. And if you're sending me anything that has illegal content, I'm just not going to click it. So I just wanted you to know that. And I also wanted to caution people. I also wanted to caution people that if you are looking at files that are getting not declassified, if you're looking at like WikiLeaks dumps or things that are supposedly off of certain laptops that may contain illicit materials, you need to understand that if you click on those things and you open them and they're on your computer, you are actually in danger of committing a crime. You can be charged with possession of those materials, even if it was accidentally on your computer. So be very wary of that. And anybody that sends me anything, please don't send me anything like that. I don't want to see those things. I don't want to, I'm not going to click on any links like that because it's a crime, especially having to do with minors. So don't let your curiosity get the better of you and you end up committing a felony. So just be very careful about that. Okay. And that goes to like all the people who are on Telegram now. People are sharing all kinds of things on Telegram. And Lynn Wood's chat got suspended on Telegram because people were just dropping porn links in the chat. So just be very careful. MAGA people are not the only people on Telegram. Those chat rooms are full of trolls, and they're also watching what you say. And so anything that you say, any comments that you put in there about, inciting certain actions, anything that has to do with destruction or crime or violence, there people are watching you. And so, if any of that shows up in my chat rooms, it gets deleted immediately because it has my name on it. So just be aware of that. All right. Be wise. Use wisdom. Okay. This is not kindergarten. This is real world. This is war. So be aware of that. Okay. Somebody's asking, is the military in charge now? Can the new person kill that? That's a good question. And I think the answer is yes and no, but I'm not an expert on that. So I think that I would defer you to Bards FM and probably X22. They seem to be a little more dialed into that aspect of things, but that is a good question. Okay. Last question. Anything else before I go? Anything else? Yeah, just use discernment, especially right now, because people are coming out of the woodwork trying to entrap people, and they have a mindset in their minds. The people that supported the president are actually um, really, really bad people, and so anything that you do, they're out there looking for reasons to report you. So just be aware of that. Um, X22 is who you followed before Twit banned you. He's on Rumble. You can get his videos on Rumble. And anybody that's posting his videos on YouTube and monetizing it is actually violating terms of service because they're taking his content and monetizing it. So just be aware of that. That you should be watching his content on Rumble. Okay. Let's see. Have a great night. Oh, hey, Millie. It's good to see you. I believe it. Yeah. Millie, I encourage you to send this video to people that you're in conversation with. I think it'll really help. I think everyone here can agree that it was very encouraging. A little bit of admonition, but also encouragement. Is that a good way to describe it? What do you all think? What does everybody think? Um, oh, okay. X22 is on Podbean. Charlie Ward. I would just use discernment. I would think, okay, does this ring true based on what I know about the way that the president operates and the way that he's operated up until now? Why would he change now? That's what I would ask. And one of the things that I've noticed is that a lot of these people, a lot of what they say is true, and it has a ring of truth to it. And then if you start to sort of see the cracks in the narrative, and then you realize, wait a minute, this is a little bit like fantasy. So just be aware of that. Okay. And trust your instinct, which is often Holy Spirit telling you, like, this isn't right, something isn't right here. Okay. All right. So listen, like I said, I'm Mary Grace. This is Mary Grace Media, and you're watching Real Talk with Mary Grace. You can find me on multiple platforms. I am on YouTube, Facebook, Clout Hub, Gab, Mary Grace Media. And I'm also on Subscribestar at Mary Grace Media. And then you can also go to my website, marygracemedia.com. If you want to purchase superfoods, send me an email, info@marygracemedia.com, and you can get a voucher for $100 or more off of your 30-day supply. If you don't really want to do superfoods, but you want to support what I'm doing here, you can go to my website and click on support, and there are several ways that you can do that. I'm also looking to bring in some sponsors, so stay tuned about that. And I appreciate everybody being here. So thank you. Please share this. Please make sure that it gets to people who you think will be encouraged by it. And if you're on Facebook, again, share it into groups so that the people in the groups can really see it and we can get around those algorithms and we don't have to spend money to get my page out there for people to see. Make sure you're following the pages, make sure that you've turned on your notifications and subscribed. So I think that's it. And I will be back soon. I may be doing a walk and talk probably tomorrow, maybe the next day. So keep your notifications on and hopefully you'll be able to catch that. Have a great evening, everybody.